Yeah, it's 3 p.m. now, and we'll start the session. A very hearty welcome to Nirja, Ganesh, all amazing speakers, Madhura, Abha, and the lovely participants, and the moderator, Roshni. It's our pleasure and honor to have you, Nirja, speak on the life skills for women. You're with us for this 3 days International Symposium Aspire with VTU, and it's really amazing feeling and honor to meet you as well. Over to you, Roshni. You can carry on with your moderation for this entire session. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. A very warm welcome and good afternoon to one and all. I am so delighted to be a part of this amazing event from VTU in partnership with Aspire for Her. Hi everyone, I am Roshni Shanbag from VTU, Belgavi, pursuing my MBA in Finance and Marketing. I feel very honored and privileged to introduce you to Ms. Nirja Ganesh. For women, Nirja Ganesh is a thought leader associated with reputed training organizations, Inroads Leadership Development and Prinergy Leadership Development. She has served as a Director Relationship at National Education Society of Karnataka, which has 17 institutions under it. National College being one of them, where she works closely with industry veterans to build Industry Academia Connect. She is also a freelance consult who conducts various talks on leadership and behavior. Prior to this role, Nirja Ganesh's professional experience of 25 years has been in the information technology industry, managing large teams, delivery of IT projects, operational excellence, and customer delight for large banking captives. She decided to switch her career to work in space of gender diversity after having mentored women from diverse experience, ages, groups, industry, and domains to help them grow in their careers. She was heading the Jobs for Her Foundation, which has been set up to bridge the gender gap in the country. Nirja was awarded a TEDx Women event organized by Dayanand Sagar Institution for her 25 years of achievements in corporate world 2017. She received the Jobs for Her Rising Award in the Women Professional category in 2019 for her contribution to the work of gender diversity. In 2020, she received the Her Rising Award in the Women in Education Society. She has received the Women's Web Orange Flower Award for writing on women at work. We are all very delighted to have you today with us, Nirja. To all our wonderful viewers watching this event, it is let you know we will be opening a question and answer session at the end. So please be ready with your questions for Nirja at the end of our talk, as we would love to hear from you. Now, I would like to hand over the stage to Nirja.
Thank you, Roshni. Thank you, VTU. Thank you, Aspire for Her, for this wonderful platform and the opportunity to talk to one set of audiences that I always love to talk to, the young girls of our country. I'm not saying that I wouldn't be addressing the boys and everybody else who's going to be attending our session today. Let me just bring up my slides. And I have been told that students do not like to see slides, and I can empathize with them because suddenly the year of 2020 has, changed the whole thing for us. Just let me know if you are able to see my screen, and then I will continue my talk. Is it visible?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay, all right. So here's 2020, coronavirus, a small thing, transformed life for all of us. But I think the human species did not let it, take us for granted. We decided that we're going to beat it down in our own way. And we also transformed ourselves overnight, especially the education industry. So from young, students going from nursery to students going to the undergraduate, postgraduate courses and beyond, they decided that they will find a way to transform their classrooms into Google Meets. They will find a way to submit their assignments via Google Classrooms. They will find a way to make friends over WhatsApps. They will find a way to replace books with PDFs and PPTs. And what about the tests and the exams that our institutions conduct? So I have seen something really firsthand because I have a daughter who's got into the undergraduate course this year. So as we speak, she is writing her end semester exam. That's what she says. It's not to be called final exam. So I'm just learning new terminologies. And she told me how this is going to happen. So there is going to be an AI-enabled tool. Now, I think, for most of you students, you probably know how this is happening because you're going through it. For us, it was very new. So she told us there is an AI-enabled tool that is going to sit on her laptop and monitor the student who's writing the exam. So what is it going to monitor for? It's going to monitor for sound. It is going to monitor for, any kind of disturbance in the room. And if the student is going to move a little bit here and there, it assumes that the student might be doing some malpractice or there's someone who's come into the room to help the student. So she told us that for the 3 hours that she's going to write the exam, she's going to lock herself in the room. There should not be any noise, nobody knocks, nobody speaks. And the procedure to submit the paper, right? So you're still going to write it on paper, and then how do you push it into this tool, which is the one which is going to be picked up for evaluation, is to scan that paper using the phone, some scan device that you have on the phone, and then send it to the college email ID, because that's the only thing that can be opened on the laptop. The college email is the only thing which can be opened on the laptop, and the AI is looking, and there is a proctor behind the scene who's going to look at what is happening on the laptop. Now, she also told me that we had given half an hour for them to actually do this whole process of scanning and pushing it into the tool. And she felt that, I don't know what I'm going to do for half an hour, because once I've submitted the PDF, I'm not allowed to get up and walk around. I have to keep staring at the screen. So for half an hour, I think I'm just going to keep staring. Said okay, and we wished her all the best. The exam started last Saturday, statistics. We gave her monopoly over the internet. On Saturdays, my husband doesn't work, so he didn't have a need for internet. I had a 4-hour session, but I did it completely on 4G, and I said, you use the broadband and enjoy your exam. 2:30, I was waiting for her to open the door. No news. 2:45, no news. 3 o'clock, and I don't know what to do, right? Because I can't knock, I can't ask. I've been forbidden. At 3 o'clock, I suddenly saw some online presence of hers on WhatsApp. So I messaged her and I said, is the exam over? Will you come for lunch now? A very genuine question, right? The child is sitting from 11:30 to 3, well past lunchtime. And she responds to me, I'm in deep trouble and all you can think about is food. I didn't know what to say. I didn't say anything more. The door opened, she came out, and she said that she thought she was being smart. So there were 5 questions, each of 10 marks. 50-mark paper. Instead of waiting to complete all the answers and do one scan, she decided to scan every answer and push it in. So very smart, kind of output she had. So she managed to do it for question 1, she managed to do it for question 2, she did it for question 3, and she was writing question 4 in between, she forgot something. So she moved to question 5, she kept the question for paper aside and moved to question 5. As she was answering the 5th one, she remembered what she had forgotten, she went back to the 4th one. Finished that. And then since a little bit of 5 was remaining, she decided that she will scan both 4 and 5 together, which is what she did. And she sent the email. Email never received. She retried. Didn't come through. She tried a 3rd time. And by the time she saw the email on her laptop, it was 30 seconds after the cutoff time to submit it. And they had already been told by the college that after the cutoff time, you can't do anything. There are only 2 options. You'll be happy with what you've submitted. So in her case, she submitted for 30 marks, or whatever she gets out of it. Or within the next 2 hours, she can actually write to the Center for Examination, Controller of Examination, and say that she wants to withdraw this answer paper and redo the exam. She would be given another chance, and it would be taken as the first attempt. It will not be considered a supplementary or something like that. She came out and she said, I'm going to withdraw it. Not surprising, knowing my daughter. And not surprising for me, if it was 2019 or any year before that, I would have said, of course, you know the answers completely, go ahead, withdraw, let's write the full thing. But 2020 has taught me something very different. And with due respect to the educational institutions, the faculty and the students here, I told my daughter, what is the guarantee that something will not go wrong the second time you're going to write it? Maybe the internet won't work. Maybe the paper is going to be extremely tough. You didn't know the two answers. And maybe this will repeat once again. So in my recommendation, and you have to watch your words, right, when you speak to your the children, I didn't say do this. I said in my recommendation, I would suggest that if you will pass this exam with the 30 marks that you have submitted, leave it. First semester doesn't matter. And I walked out from there. It was already 3:30, so she had to make up her mind within an hour. So she came back by 4:30 and she said she checked with all her friends about what answers they got, and she feels that her answers were correct, so she will pass. And so she had made up her mind that she will not withdraw. So on Sunday, the family sat down to discuss how we can help her if such a thing happened again for the exam on the day. Right? Again, of course, we were going to give her the complete bandwidth. My husband was going to work on 4G. I said, I'm not even going to work till you finish your exam. We gave her two phones, her own phone and her father's phone. One is on Idea, one is on Geo. Some network will work. She configured her college ID on her phone. And Hima, you should tell me whether our logic makes sense. We thought that if the email is sent, it will at least be sitting in sent items if it's taking time for it to come to inbox. And all of that. And I told her, if you can indicate in some way, if we can help, we are there to help. She went into the room, locked herself up. 2:30, no news. 2:45, no news. 3 o'clock, she opens the door. What do you think I would have asked her? I have learned my lesson, I did not talk about lunch. And you can't even ask now, did you do the exam well? Because there is no question of doing exam well. The problem is the email. So my question to her was, did you receive your emails today? And she said, at least on Saturday, I got 3. Today, I didn't get any of them. So none of the answers that she scanned went through by email. Now I got nervous and I didn't know what to say next, but then I had to ask. So after a few seconds, I said, so Sneha, does it mean 0 out of 50 for math? And she's a math geek, okay? Asking that question itself was difficult. But she was chilled out. She said, of course not, Mom. I figured a way out. So there was the proctor. I told him, this is not working for me. And I'm going to open up WhatsApp on my screen. It is not allowed. He said no. But I said no, because emails are not working for me. I've already lost in one paper. I cannot lose in another paper. You are anyway going to watch my screen. You will know what I am doing. I am opening my WhatsApp. And she sent those scanned answers on WhatsApp to me. And I actually saw it, sitting outside. I saw something is coming on my WhatsApp and I asked her, what do you want me to do? And she said, just keep quiet. So I stopped talking on WhatsApp. And she picked it up through WhatsApp on her laptop and submitted it. So the paper's gone through. Now look at this girl, all of 18. As such, examinations are stressful. And this is her first year of college, and it is online, and it is this AI-enabled thing. And you already have had a problem in the previous paper. And this paper, again, you're struggling. Despite that, she managed to keep her calm. She was resilient. She was quick to think, problem solve, creatively find a solution. She was able to communicate to that person and negotiate her way and got what she wanted. And that is what is a life skill. You might be the subject matter expert, the most knowledgeable of all. In this case, she might have written answers for 50 marks on the paper. But if it didn't go through, then that was of no use. And hence, life skills are as important, if not more, than your technical skills, your domain knowledge, and leadership skills that we all crave to know. Now, of course, if you do not have SME expertise, subject matter expertise, you have a blank sheet of paper, life skills are not going to help you. But assuming that you have all of that, this is something that you have to be really, really honing on a daily basis. And
I've already spoken about some of the life skills with this story. We spoke about problem solving, we spoke about communication, creative thinking, decision making, being self-aware, interpersonal skills, being resilient, empathy, and there's many, many more. But today we are going to talk about life skills for women. Not saying that the skills that I'm going to talk about are not necessary for other genders. They are. But the focus here for women is that as we grow in life and in our careers, somewhere we stop focusing on some of these. These take a back seat, or we've not really thought it to be that important or relevant. And hence, I really want to emphasize that all of us need to keep these at the top of our mind and hone all these skills. To start with, the first one is speak up. So when I was finishing, I had finished my graduation, and then I went on to do this, 4-semester course at NIIT. I'm talking about 1992. When NIIT was booming, IT was booming, I had signed up for a 4-semester course. When I was in the 3rd semester, this company called Sonata, it's an IT company, a services company, came to campus, and they wanted to hire some of us for a 3-month contract assignment. So we were all very thrilled, In those days, there was no concept of an internship, none of that. Getting a job, even before you had, even if it was contract, getting it from such a prestigious organization, even before you had completed your course, was a big thing. I was the only one who had a 4th semester to complete. Everybody else was finishing up with 3 semesters, and there was 1 month of the 3rd semester remaining. So some of them said, we're going to take a break. Let's focus on the 3 months at Sonata. For all you know, if we do well, we'll be absorbed as permanent employees. We can always go back and finish our studies. A few others said just 1 month more, we will manage both work as well as studies. But for me, there was another 4th semester that was waiting to be finished. And there was no way I could have taken a break from studies, because for me, these resources were very scarce. My parents were looking out for this boy for me and were going to get me married, and that clearly told me that, if the boy says no studies, no working, you're just going to accept it. So there was no way I could have, taken a break. And I didn't want to let go of this opportunity also. So, I was in a dilemma. If I take a break, I don't know whether I will be able to finish the job. If I do not take the job, I don't know if this opportunity will present itself. And the additional thing was that Sonata was working in shifts. So I think, computers were scarce in those days. It was a contract assignment, short term. So they decided to put all of us in shifts. So there were 2 shifts. One was 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Another was 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. I being a girl, they put me in the morning shift. And also because I had my 4th semester classes from 3 to 5 on 3 days of the week, this kind of worked out well. It would have worked out well. But I am talking about 1992, 1993, when we did not have computers at home. So what we used to do, in NIIT, we used to get 6 hours every day, 4 hours of theory and 2 hours of practicals. And I'm sure all of you know that in 2 hours of practicals, we're not going to come anything. So we used to hang around there looking for spare PCs, see if somebody was absent in somebody else's lab period, or if a faculty had taken off, then the lab is not happening. We use those PCs to practice. Or lunchtime, we go and do some work, especially the projects. We would be getting only 6 hours to do our projects. These projects used to be like develop a micro database. In 6 hours, what can you do? Nothing. So we used to do the project, like this, and then during those 6 hours, just type up the entire code and compile it and submit it. Now, I wouldn't know when the PC is available on which shift, right? That was my predicament. Classes are still predictable, but when is somebody taking off? Morning shift, evening shift? One doesn't know. I don't know what made me speak up. I was a very weak, timid, shy girl, but I decided, let me go and speak to my manager. And I spoke to her, a nice lady, and I said, this is my problem. I cannot commit to a shift because of this. I didn't know what she was going to do, but I thought, let me speak up. She went back to the management, must have discussed something, and came back to me and she said, we've decided to make an exception for you. We are going to give you a dedicated PC. You can come in whenever you can and go whenever you need to, as long as you finish the work that is assigned to you for the week by the Sunday. Monday you submit it, and it has to be at the same quality standards that every other student is going to keep up to. So we are not making any other exceptions for you. Just that we are going to give you a dedicated PC. Now you figure out how you're going to do the work here as well as manage your NIIT course. And that worked out wonderfully for me. I started, I worked. Of course, the hours were crazy, but I did it. And the contract assignment extended for 9 months. And at the end of 9 months, along with everybody else who had joined, I also became a permanent employee at Sonata. And then I've had this long career of which Roshni just spoke about. And I'm thinking, if I had not spoken up that day, I would have either quit from Sonata even before I could have started. And I don't know if I would have had the opportunity after that. Or I would have taken a break from my studies. And I don't know whether I would have gone back to studies. Life would have been different. I can't say whether it would have been better or worse because I've not lived that life. But the life that I've lived now, I'm very happy with that. And hence, my dear girls, and everybody else who's here, speak up. Ask for what you need to ask. And what's the worst that can happen? What could have happened? My manager, Suman, would have come back and said, sorry, Nirja, you make a decision. If you want to work here, you have to work in the shift. You figure it out. And I would have figured something out, right? But at least I asked, I spoke up, and look at the opportunity that it presented to me. So a very important life skill for women. Mostly it's women and the girls who do not speak up. The second one, which is also very, very important for us, is negotiation. And the minute we say negotiation, the things people talk about is negotiate for pay, negotiate for bonuses, for promotions, which is important, I'm not denying it. But negotiate for yourself, both at home and at work and across the entire ecosystem. What do I mean by that? So, as Roshni said, I finished up 25 years of my corporate career in 2017, and I got this opportunity to head the Jobs for Her Foundation, a not-for-profit organization. It came my way, and I, spoke to my husband, and I told him that I think I will take up this opportunity. And he said, how NGOs work. And after having quit, I had actually picked up a consulting assignment at a startup. So it was a very cushy kind of a thing. I used to work for 4 hours, come for lunch. Both of us would sit and have lunch together, something that we've never done in the past so many years. And life was good. So I said, why don't we just continue that consulting? And also because we were considering to start construction of our house. So he said, you will have to now put a lot of time and effort and focus on that new house that we are going to get. And the third thing that was happening was, I live in a joint family, so my mother-in-law was just recovering from a very severe viral infection, which had almost, she lost her mobility, and she was just recovering from that. So he said there would be days when you might have to, be at home to look after her. So I had a great support system. My sister-in-law had come and looked after my mother-in-law. My husband works from home. But there could be certain days when, he would have had to step out, so then somebody had to be with my mother-in-law, and that would have to be me. So he said, with all of this, you think you really have to start, this completely new job? And I told him, see the house, we're still thinking about it. We have to, get these drawings done, and then we have to submit it for approvals. That itself is going to take a 2-3 months. And then, this was the first floor that we were going to build. So people are going to start digging and then build the pillars, raise it to the first floor, and then the walls of the first floor, and then cast the roof. This is going to take another 3 months. So I have a good 6 months before I have to start looking at the house in detail, on an everyday basis. Because it's only when you start doing the interiors, where do you draw your wires, the electric wires, the plumbing and the tiles, is when you need a lot more supervision and a lot more involvement. A good 6 months, and I told them that I can do a lot in the 6 months with regards to the job. And with regards to caring for my mother-in-law, I said I will definitely speak at the office and buy some flexibility for myself. So I would want you to remember what Sudhamurthy says. The going in position is not that, I'm a woman and hence, come and, help me out. But all I said was there might be a day when I may have to work from home. So I kind of made that known to my boss. And I also told her about this house project and said that maybe in 7 to 8 months' time, I may need a little more flexibility to go and look at the house, how it's progressing. And I knew that we had some timelines for the construction to finish. It was March 2019. So I said, when that finishes, I want a month off to go and settle in the new house. And she was very happy that I brought this up, up front. And she said, one-off days if you want to work from home to care for your mother-in-law, perfectly fine. Because she knew she could trust me. If I say I worked from home, I worked from home, not for home. Okay? So you also have to ensure that you do not misuse and abuse the privileges that are given to you. And she said, thanks for bringing up the fact that, there is this house project and you will have to, worry on some days off or, time off when you shift. We will see how things progress, and as the time comes, we'll probably find a backup for you or somebody who can run the show when you're away for a month. And in April 2019, we finished the group revision of the house, shifted into it. I know every nook and corner of this house, how it has been done. It has been done exactly how I wanted. And it built a brand of its own, and we have been able to create an impact like never before. And my mother-in-law had also recovered and she was back in the And hence, I say negotiate. It's not only for salary. You've got to negotiate for what you want everywhere with everyone. And this is a very important life skill for women. The third most important one for us is time management. There will come a time, so you're all students. I'm not saying that time management is very easy when you are a student, especially in today's world. It is crazy. But there will come a time when you have gotten into your job, you kind of finished your probation and 2 years into your career and you're just settling in, and probably that is the time when you start thinking about marriage. 3 years down, you might be thinking of having a baby, and that's when you are 5 years into the career, newer things are coming up and you want to kind of put up your hands for leadership positions and things like that. So these two tracks are going to run in parallel. As your life progresses, families grow, is when your career is also going to grow. So you have to know how to manage your time. It's not an option for you to let go of one and say, okay, fine, I will forget family and only look at career, or forget career and only look at family. It doesn't happen. You have to manage both, and you can manage both if you are able to manage time. It is an art. You have to learn it. So when my daughter, in the month of April, she picked up the role of the ambassador for Aspire for her. For her, it was like coming out of prison, because you know how 11th and 12th standard is, right? So suddenly you have all these months, and you didn't even know when colleges were reopening. There was even one exam pending for her, but these students had declared it as long time vacation for themselves and had kind of enjoyed themselves. So she had Aspire for her that she was working on. She had her writing. She had all these Amazon Prime shows that she wanted to watch. She wanted to cook, and she wanted to do 100 courses. And I don't know what kind of a life she was living. So after a few weeks, I sat her down and I said that you need to put everything in a calendar. A beautiful tool that Google has designed for us called the Google Calendar. And I said, put everything in that. And it was a lockdown period, right? So we didn't have maids also. So, she used to help me mop the house. So even that would be there on the calendar. She's going to beat me up after this session saying that I'm letting people know of all the things that she did. But I'm not saying that she is the best of time managers now, but there is some semblance of discipline that is there because of this tool. There was another mentee of mine, Brinda, I don't know if she's listening in, who told me that this is the first problem that she has. And I gave her the same suggestion. And 1 month later, she called me and she said, it's such a beautiful suggestion and life's got really sorted out after that. So learn to manage your time. Most important. Risk appetite. We women, and I'm generalizing, our appetite for taking risks is not as high as it should be. And why so? It is because we always have self-doubt. We don't think that we are ready for something. We want to be 120% ready before we put our hands for something. We want to ensure that we feel good. We feel that we deserve this opportunity before we say, okay, I accept it. Even if somebody were to give it to you on a platter, there is this thing called as imposter syndrome, which is something within us. Because there are enough people outside of us who will say you're not good enough. Forget them. But this thing inside us, which continuously tells us, you're not good enough. And it tells me today also. I'm not saying that, it will go away. It will never go away. For example, when Madhura said, Nirja, this is a topic that, I would like you to speak on for this seminar, I happily accepted. And then one fine day when I saw the flyer and I saw Sudha Murthy on it, and I'm saying, Nirja, what are you doing? You're going to be on the same stage as Sudha Murthy? I think you should just go tell Madhura this is not for me. The imposter within you will keep talking to you like that. And hence, we do not take the risk of looking at something new, something challenging. And hence, we let go of the opportunities. So this is also something that you have to build in yourself. You have to overcome self-doubt. You have to feel good about yourself. You have to make the imposter a friend. And again, say what is the worst that can happen. Exactly like Hima was saying yesterday. If you picked up an opportunity which nobody else has ever done in the past, there can be only two things that will happen. One is you fail and you learn out of it, and either you or somebody else will find a different way to do it. Or you are successful at it and you'll probably be the forerunner and a trailblazer in it. So build a very high risk appetite for yourselves to grab every opportunity that comes. So there is enough said that women don't get opportunities, and half of it is because of the fact that we don't go and grab these opportunities. We feel we are not ready. But I am going to tell you, why wait for opportunities to come your way? Why don't you create your opportunities? And I'm sorry, there's noise on the road. I hope you're still able to listen to me. Create your own opportunities. And how does one create their own opportunities? And again, I will go back to the story of Aspire for her and all the ambassadors who joined this brilliant organization. So they come for 1 month and they're given dedicated tasks, including my daughter when she joined in the month of April. And that was the first cohort of ambassadors. So I think Madhura was still figuring out what she was going to do with these ambassadors. So every day they would get tasks around, go and spread the word to 10 of your peers, or put out a social media post, or write something. And these ambassadors could have taken it as a task. Okay, fine, you told me to tag 10 people today, speak to 10 people, I'll speak to 10 people and task over. And at the end of 1 month, ambassadorship over, you get a certificate and you finish. But I've seen these girls go beyond that. Like in the case of my daughter, she saw that there was a lot of social media being used. And she felt that she could probably improvise, kind of give some content and build some strategy for the social media. And she put up her hand for that. And by the time the ambassadorship was over, she had got the role of social media strategist. So I would say she created this opportunity for herself. Again, a very, very critical skill for all of us, but for women especially. The next one that I'm going to tell you is be a curious learner. And this is also something that was spoken about yesterday by all speakers. Sudha Murthy spoke about it, Rumi spoke, Hima spoke, Madhura spoke. You have to be a continuous and curious learner. There is something called as a T-shape. Of course, the subject matter expertise, what we are speaking about, the math or whatever, is the vertical of the T, and you have to own your subject matter expertise. But you have to build as much diverse skills. The horizontal of the T has to be as broad as you can. And hence, you cannot just be focused on what you want, in terms of a particular career. So if you look at my daughter, she is pursuing data science, but she went and did the role of a social media strategist. And I'm sure that has given her immense learning, which is going to be of use, when she then goes and pursues a data science career. So be a lifelong learner, a curious learner, and diverse learning, not just go deep in one thing. It has to be in the shape of a T. My favorite, all time, network. People don't understand this term, but it is extremely important for us to understand this. And in the days to come, there is no way out but to build a fantastic network for you to help and grow. What is a network? How do you build a network? It is as simple as building connections with people that you don't know. For example, today there are a bunch of speakers. I'm here, Saundari is there, Madhura is there. So you go and connect with these people. We are all mentors on Aspire for Her. You can find us there, or you can find us on LinkedIn. Drop a text on LinkedIn to say, hey, I heard you, I saw you at this symposium. I would like to remain connected with you. You have established a connection. After establishing that connection, nurture that connection. Build a relationship, a long-time relationship with it. And that only happens when you are able to give something useful to the other person. Eventually, you will see how that network is helping you. So how did I meet Madhura? We both are part of a Women's Leaders Network, and I think on that WhatsApp group I was introduced, and she saw that I had headed the Jobs for Her Foundation, so she said, Neerja, I would like to speak to you. So we got onto a Zoom call in March this year, and by the end of that call, she had invited me to become a mentor on Aspire for Her, and it was at that call that she found Sneha, and she said, okay, fine, I'm going to be an ambassador. And look at what's happened. In December 2020, I have this opportunity to be speaking at the VTU Symposium. And there's plenty that has happened through the months. I have been a mentor, I have mentored girls, I have written for Aspire for Her, I have tried to bring in whatever alliances I could. In some ways, I have been of some use to Madhura and the organization. And some ways, opportunities have also come back to me. So it is extremely important for you to be part of a big and diverse network, but ensure you're contributing to the network in a useful way for it to give you back. And finally, learn to build your personal brand. We women are not very good at showcasing ourselves, tom-tomming about ourselves, if I may to say that. So when I always talk about personal branding, there is this cartoon that comes into my mind. It is a cartoon of this guy, with long beard who's playing the guitar. And he's saying that I've been playing the guitar for the last 30 years in the basement of my house. I think now somebody will spot me and, take me to a stage where I can play for an audience. My dear girls, nobody is going to spot you. You have to build a brand for yourselves. Your work will speak for yourselves on not the days anymore. Because there's so much of competition out there. So you have to find ways to narrate your success stories. Do not minimalize your achievements. Don't let the imposter say, what's the big deal that you have done? You have done a big deal. Whatever it is, small or big, you have to showcase. You have to find opportunities to speak about it and create a brand for yourselves. You should be known as somebody. Your brand has to kind of proceed before you actually get into a room or get onto the stage, online, Zoom, whatever. So in this year of 2020, from April till December, I must have addressed audiences at least 60 to 70 places. Conferences, big, small, meetups, or colleges, other kinds of institutions. And none of them I have approached people for. Either it has come through my network, somebody has referred me, or somebody has seen my online presence, and hence online presence is very, very important. Somebody has seen my online presence and has come to me saying, will you come and speak at our conference? So personal brand goes a very long way. There are many more things that we can speak about, but I thought that let me condense and speak about the top things that we women usually miss out on, do not think important enough, or we kind of lose track of these, and then we are in a big soup, and then we say that we've already lost us. So in closing, this is something that I would like to quote Indranuni. And I also want to say that whatever I spoke about, I also liked about it. If you go to Aspire for Her page, you will find articles titled Inspires. That's what I write under. You will find more material on that. And I'm giving you, a clue that my December news files is going to be something around this. Never hide what makes you, you. So chase your dreams, not somebody else's. And your dream could be, simple. It doesn't have to be, kind of beating up your peers or, going beyond what somebody else has achieved. As long as it is your aspiration, it is your dream. Do it and do it in your way. For sure you're going to be successful. Would love to be in touch with you. I'm available on LinkedIn. I'm available on Aspire for her. Please go ahead and read some of the articles that I have written under Inspires. And I will hand it over to Roshni for any questions that the audience may have.
Thank you, Nirja. You have shared some wonderful and inspiring insights, and I'm sure all of us enjoyed listening to you. To all our viewers, we had a great participation from the audience, and we have received many questions, but due to time limitation, we'll be taking up on top 2 only today. I will read out the audience question for you, Nirja.
Sure.
In a professional career and a juggle of a life, how can one find a balance? Kindly share your insight.
So yeah, it is, going back to the same thing that I spoke about, right? In some ways, managing your time. The tracks are going to run in parallel. Your life, your home, your family is going to run in parallel with your career. And the only way to manage this is to be extremely efficient with your time. And when I talk about time management, the first thing that I say is ensure that you have your priorities set for yourselves. Though it sounds very simple, everybody will say, of course, I know my priorities. Actually, it is deep reflection. You need to reflect to say, what are my top 3 priorities? What are my top 5 priorities? And again, when you say top priority number 1, there should be only one thing at priority number 1. You can't say, I want to do this and this and this, and all these 3 are my top priorities, priority number 1. Out of the 3, if you could do only one thing, what is that one thing? So that's your priority number 1. Number 2, number 3, maybe max of 5. Identify those priorities, and that should be holistic. Not only your career priorities, it has to be, your family priorities, it has to be your me time priorities. I want to take care of my health, so fitness is a priority. I want to take care of my family, so I want to cook at home and give nutritious meals to my family. I want to ensure that I get my promotion in the next 2 years, so that's priority. So 1, 2, 3, prioritize. And then use this beautiful tool called as Google Calendar, or any other calendar that you wish to use. And ensure that on a daily and a weekly basis in your calendar, you have all of these priorities put in. So if you want to have a fitness goal, ensure that it is put in the morning. If you want to run, you want to do yoga or whatever you want to do, a half-an-hour slot is there and it is non-negotiable. If you want to have some me time for yourself, which is the reading of a book or catching a series on TV, ensure that you block your time for that, 7 to 7:30 every day. And then you respect that calendar of yours. There's no point in having it in the calendar, and the minute there is somebody saying that, come on, can you take this meeting at 7 o'clock? And I'm saying, yeah, let me just forget this for today. Then you're not going to have, a holistic life. And then you will complain that, if you have to focus on career, you can't give time to family. So let me decide what I want to focus on. You respect your you respect your calendar unless and until it is such an exigency, such an emergency that you have to let go of it, you will not let go of it. If you're able to manage your time, you will be able to achieve it. That's my answer to that question.
Thank you, Nirja, for sharing your insight and knowledge. I'm sure our audience will benefit from this.
Thank you.
Let me read out the next question that we have from our audience. What is the purpose of having a goal and how can one set a goal?
That's a big question. But it is important to have a goal. If you do not have a goal, and I think that is also one of the missions of Aspire for her, right? We want girls to have very intentional careers. I told you my story. So in my story, my father had very clearly said that when the guy comes, and if he says you will stop studying, if he says you will not work, you will not. So I said, okay, we'll figure it out. But I think I was lucky enough in some ways, and I found ways to manage things around it. I wasn't very intentional about my career. I kind of, thought that when I get married, I will quit. Or when I have my baby, I will quit. But I never quit for 25 years, right? So I managed to achieve what I achieved. But you need to be very intentional about what you want to do in life. If not, if life had not been that good to me, I may have, had to take a break much early on, and I may not necessarily have had this kind of a life and career. Saying that I would have had to quit the career doesn't mean I would have had a great life, right? Like, as somebody said yesterday, I think Sudha Murthy, you need to have both, and you need to kind of balance both. So be very intentional. And how do you find a goal? I think in my language, I would say, what are you passionate about? Think about what is it that really is meaningful and purposeful for you. And towards that, you kind of build your career aspirations, your goals for life, and then break it down into, okay, fine, if I want to achieve it and it's going to take me 5 years to achieve it, let me break it down into smaller milestones, because 5 years is very far away and there will be 100 other things that will come your way to jeopardize that whole journey. So break it down into smaller goals. Like I have also written an article on this, visualizing your goal, right? So I used to forever think that I want to go on stage and I want to speak. But I was never a girl like that. And I was a very quiet, timid, shy girl. I never spoke for the first 10 years of my career. I didn't even say hi to the person who used to sit next to me in the office. I was that kind. I would have my lunch all by myself because I was so scared to talk. I would have my chai all by myself. Came home and I was happy with that. But I had this thing in me that I should go up and on the stage and speak, because when I used to hear those speakers, it used to mesmerize me, and I used to think, will I be able to do it? Can I be able to do it? And I started visualizing myself doing it. And in doing that, you can't just say, okay, fine. It's not a dream, right, that Nirja on stage. I actually visualize every step towards that. So, okay, I'm on stage. What am I going to wear on that stage, right? So, I visualize myself in that side. What is the topic that I'm going to speak about? So, I visualize myself with a particular topic. Then how do I prepare for that? So in my head, in the bathroom, in the kitchen, I started kind of, preparing that talk, assuming that, I'm speaking that. I'm going to give that talk on the stage. And then I thought of all the blocks that will come my way. I may have stage fear. I may freeze on stage. So how do I, overcome that? And that is n number of rehearsals. I told you that I've done about 60 plus talks in the last 6 months. But even before I came and gave this talk today, I've done 2 rehearsals. My family has been very clearly said, yesterday night for 1 hour and today for 1 hour, locked myself in the room, I've rehearsed every word of this. Okay? So you've got to break down your big goal into smaller milestones, achievable milestones, and then work towards that. Visualize the successes, but also act. And the time to act is now. Most of us, what we do, okay, I think I'll do it tomorrow. Today, there's such a big problem, so let me do it tomorrow. What you can achieve today, you achieve that. Maybe you're not able to achieve this entire, 1 hour talk. Maybe you're able to just think of 2 lines that you can speak. But that is also a good enough achievement. And over a period of time, if not in 5 years, maybe after 6 years, or maybe you will fast track in 3 years, you will achieve your goals. So that's what I would like to say to that. But be very intentional about your careers, very, very, very. Without which, you might not get as lucky as I was. It went the way that it has gone. But you have to be very, very clear about what is it that you want, what careers you want to choose. If you don't know where to go and find this knowledge, of course, Aspire for Her has got enough and more career programs. There are enough and more mentors. So you have to go seek this out, speak to them, read up about it and say, okay, fine, if I have to reach there, these are some of the things that I need to do.
Thank you for this wonderful insight, ma'am, and thank you for leaving us with some thoughtful and valuable suggestions. Thank you, Nirja, for being with us for this event and for inspiring us. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, Roshni. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you, ma'am.
Nirja, since we have another 10 minutes, would you mind, there is one very important question which has come from the audience, and I see 3 people have repeated the same question. So would you mind, taking up one more question for us?
Surely, why not? Yeah.
You did mention that, women should chase their dream and they should live their dream, right? Are there, important dream? So could you, throw some insight?
Sure. I think conviction is very important. Somebody has said, right, how badly do you want to achieve that? That's a question that you need to ask for yourself. So I want to go on stage and speak. It's a nice thing to dream about. But how badly do I want it? If it's like it's a nice to have, I think there itself, it goes down the drain. Unless and until there is a compelling reason and you are convinced will do that. So that conviction is extremely important for you to be able to chase your dreams. The second, of course, is the self-confidence that I can do it, regardless of whoever says whatever. And that's why I said it has to be your dream. It cannot be somebody else's. And while I say that, majority of us actually, starting from school days, okay, fine, what do you want to study? You finish your 10th standard, majority of us say science because, that's what it is. Engineering, because you have the large population, does that. Nothing against engineering. I mean, do it if that is what you want to do it, but not because the rest of the world seems to be doing that. So, what is your dream? Articulate that for yourself. It can be very hard, it can be very different from the rest of the world. But it doesn't matter. Even if people are laughing at you, it doesn't matter because it is your dream and you are convinced and you want to make it happen at any cost. And the third, obviously, I will say, don't try to be a superwoman. Ask for help. You cannot do it all and you don't need to do it all. And when I say ask for help 360 degrees. Also at home. It doesn't have to be only, I will put 2 extra maids in the house. What happens when there's a lockdown and no maids are allowed? Ask for help from the spouse, from your in-laws, from your parents, from your neighbor, from your child. And delegate and you see how you will be able to reach those dreams.
Amazing. It was indeed a delightful session and I thank you for proposing a perfect skills for women so that they can chase their dream. Nirja,
My
I wish
pleasure.
to see you back once again, not online, probably offline with us here at VTU and have a session or a discussion with the students.
Surely, look forward. Someday that will happen.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
Thank you all.
for the entire session.
Thank you, ma'am.
I want to thank Roshni as well for all the hard work she's put in. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Nija. Thank you all of you for sort of making it here.
So I will come back for the next session, which is starting at 4:15.
Yes. So the next session is at 4:15. We will join back in a short while, in 10 minutes time, and we can comment careers in finance and fintech.
Sure. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, ma'am.
Minute, 40 seconds. Computer put a hold, don't launch it. Computer says, don't launch it. I am the mission director, I have to take decision. Everything is on. Behind me, there are 6 experts. They saw computer database coming in and screen, and they see the pictures in the screen, they said there's a problem. The problem is there's a leakage in the system, in the control system. But we did the calculation, no problem. We have got sufficient fuel and oxidation for control system. It controls the rocket to the required attitude. And we can go high. Now, of course, my expert's view, but I took a decision. Problem is
Hi, Shinali.
finally I took a decision. I bypassed the computer, I launched the system.
Amasri.
Okay, I launched the system. Stage follow went.
Hi.
First stage worked in
Can
the
you hear
first
me?
stage rocket.
Yes, yes.
Second stage got mad. It went to spin.
Am I
Put
audible?
the satellite in the orbit,
Yes.
it put in the
Yes.
bear.
No, we are just checking on the audio side that there is no problem once we go
It was
live.
a fail first
All
time.
right.
I experienced my failure.
Jaya?
How do you manage the failure? Success I can manage. So at that time, we are a great man, we are a great leader, also Satish Dhawan. He comes to me, I'm very tired working nearly for months. He wakes me up, come, let us go for a press conference. Press was meeting there, like this, number of people, world press. We photo this and that, all the gadgets they are there. I was highly frightened. I will be project director, vision director. What Satish Dhawan said, chairman, Indian Space, we have failed today. I have to do all the success, all the to support my technologies, and so that next year they succeed. So he took the whole blame himself. And then media asked, you have put Bay of Bengal so many crores. You have put it.
Shamasri?
He received the
Yes, can you hear me?
He assured
Yes, I can hear you very clearly.
with
Yes,
our team.
hello.
It's a very good team.
Hello.
Next year,
How are you?
really interesting. They have
I'm good, I'm good. How are things going?
1980,
I'm great.
when he succeeded. So Dhawan said, you go and conduct the press.
I think Jaya has been joining us.
What this means? It means when the failure occurred, the leader took it up. When the success came, he used it.
जब हम लोगों ने रोड से एक बुजुर्ग महिला को पिक किया, तो जब हमने उसके सामान को देखा, तो उसके सामान में सूखी रोटियां थी, और उससे जब हमने पूछा कि अम्मा ये सूखी
We'll
रोटियां
start sharp at 4:15.
मतलब ये तो बिल्कुल मैंने होता ना यूं करो तो टूट जाए,
We'll just
तो
wait,
उसने
I think the idea was just to log in so that just, to ensure there's no technical snags.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why even I logged in regularly.
Yeah, because you never know, last minute glitches.
Absolutely.
What's your dream?
Yeah.
Singer. Hindustani and Carnatic. Hindustani and Carnatic music. Any music. Any music. Well, I don't know how to is a relative term. So I personally believe you must have a dream. Say, I must have a dream. I must continuously acquire knowledge. Continuously acquire knowledge. Hard work, and perseverance. One should not be not afraid of problems. That will be success. We should know how to handle not only how to handle success, how to handle the failures. Particularly you are in the management environment, you have attend. If I want the young people to understand how to manage the failure, because any task you do, you have to come across problem. Problem should not become the captain of the individual or the project chief, and the project chief should become the captain of the problems and defeat the problem itself. And for a culture of excellence. The excellence not by accident. It is a process where an individual continuously strives to better oneself. The performance standards are set by themselves. They work on their dreams with focus and are prepared to take calculated risk and do not get deterred by failures as they move towards their dreams. Then they step up their dreams as they tend to reach the original targets. They strive to work to their potential. In the process, they increase their performance, thereby multiplying further their potential. This is an unending life cycle phenomena, culture of excellence. They are not in competition with anyone else but themselves. That is a culture of excellence. I am sure each one of you will aspire to become a unique with culture of excellence.
You've written books, you've served as president, you're an aerospace engineer, you've been a professor, but you say the title you like best is the title of teacher. Why is that?
You know, I had a teacher when I was a young boy, 10 years boy, wartime, the Second World War going on. At that time, I used to see my class, 5th class teacher, in science teacher, his name is Sivasubramania. He entered the classroom and we used to see the radiation of knowledge from him, When he enters the classroom, my teacher, I see radiation of purity of life. And the way he taught, my dream got shaped. What should be my way of life? He is the person, the teacher gave me the vision of my life when I was a young fellow. Now a teacher has got a fantastic opportunity to grow minds, to enrich the minds, and give the dreams to the young people, and nurture the dreams with them, and they will become great human beings. Sometime they will become better than you, but better than the teacher. So that opportunity you have. And also the teacher, like what I am doing, I am a professor, I can also do the research. Young researchers will be work with me. That's a great pleasure when they get the PhD. History has proven that those who dare to imagine the impossible are the ones who break all the human limitations. In every field of human endeavor, whether science, medicine, sports, arts or technology, the names of the people, just now I listed some of the names of the people who imagined the impossible are engraved in our history. By breaking the limits of their imagination, they change the world. You take C.V. Raman, you take Newton, you take Einstein, you take Chandrasekhar. By breaking the limits of their imagination, they change the world.
Want to increase sales? Try Bitrix 24, a leading free online CRM used by over 5 million companies. Bitrix 24 can help you manage existing clients, generate new leads, run marketing campaigns, issue invoices.
Carefully hear me what I am saying. What did I learn from the youth of 11 million people? I learned every youth wants to be unique. Every youth wants to be unique. That is you. Every youth wants to be unique. That is you. But the world around you is doing its best day and night to make you just everybody else. Now, the question is whether you want to be you or everybody else. You want to be you, not everybody else. Now, if the question being like everybody else is convenient at the first glance, but not satisfying in the long vision. The challenge, therefore, my young friends, is that you have to fight the hardest battle. You have to fight the hardest battle, which any human being can ever imagine to fight, and never stop fighting until you arrive at your destined place. That is the unique you. To get the unique you, it's a big battle. The battle means you don't need to take a gun. The battle means you have to have 4 unique things. 4 unique tools you must have in that battle. One is you have to set the goal. The second one is acquire the knowledge continuously. And third one, it's a hard work with the devotion. And fourth is perseverance. These are the tools you have to, for the battle you have to wage. You want to be discoverers. If you want to be innovators, I am going to give you what type of characteristic you must have. Invention and discoveries have emanated from creative minds that have been constantly working and imagining the outcome. The telephone, he was imagining the outcome in the mind. With imaging and constant effort, all the forces of the universe work for that inspired mind, thereby leading to invention and discoveries. See, I have a feeling, whenever I give something, I feel happy. You see, this is you try. That whatever you may have knowledge, you have sometimes better economy you may have. Better, maybe sometimes you have a kind words you can have. So if you use and make somebody's life happy, that you are giving, and his or her life is happy, that's the best thing they are doing. Then you get a conflict.
Are you somebody who's always dreamt of becoming a coach, but are you somebody who's always continued to help people without figuring out what would it take for you to gain that financial freedom?
That is, leaders should work with integrity and succeed with it. Leader should work with integrity and succeed with it. And I believe President, since you asked the question, has to be continuously in touch with the people. Rashtrapati Bhavan, where I was there, became a people's hall. So Rashtrapati Bhavan, it becomes people's hall. And also I travel into the whole state, cutting across hills, deserts and sea. I was in touch with millions and millions of people.
Dr. Kalam, let me first say that it's a great pleasure and a privilege.
I want the young people to understand how to manage the failure. If you want to be innovators, I am going to give you what type of characteristic you must have. See, I have a feeling, whenever I give something, I feel happy. You want to be you, not everybody else. By breaking their limits of their imagination, they change the world. Creativity leads to thinking. When he enters the classroom, my teacher, I see a radiation of purity of life. The leader should work with integrity and succeed with integrity.
Sir, how did you become so great?
How did I become so great? That's the question. When there is order in the nation, there is peace in the world.
He was the 11th President of India from 2002 to 2007.
A career scientist turned politician, he studied physics and aerospace engineering.
He was intimately...
My greetings to all of you. While I am with you, I would like to talk about what I can talk to you. You can give me ideas, but I decided I will start with, since you are a knowledge institution, I would like to talk about knowledge. What is this knowledge? Knowledge, what are its components? Knowledge equal to, according to me, knowledge equal to creativity plus righteousness plus courage. Let us define now. Knowledge equal to creativity, righteousness and courage. Now, when you leave this, now the combination of these characteristics, what I said, three things, can generate enlightened citizens. When you leave the university campus,
education and the
Very good evening and a very pleasant welcome to Nali, Jaya, Shamasri from our family. We are very delighted to have three great minds together who have deliberations on finance and fintech. Over to you, Shumaisa, the moderator of today's session. You can carry it.
Yes, ma'am. A warm afternoon to all our eminent panelists. I feel very honored to have you here with us today for our event, Careers in Finance and Fintech. Hello everyone, I am Shumaisa Sheikh Surab of VTU Belgavi, pursuing my MBA in Finance and Human Resources. I am very excited to introduce our panel members for the day. Our first panelist is Jaya Janardhanan. Jaya has been a banker for 25 years and has worked with multiple large banks like ICICI Bank, ING Visya, JP Morgan, Bank of America, and Ujjivan Small Finance Bank. She is currently the Chief Operating Officer with an upcoming NBFC, Indus Capital. She is experienced in setting up operations, technology, customer service, and digital banking. She is a winner of the Asian Banker for the Best Bank Technology in 2012. Our next panelist is Chonali Nagarkati. Chonali is the Head Corporate Finance of Mergers and Acquisitions and New Projects at Flamingo International. She has also formerly been a part of the corporate finance at Ernst & Young and ANZ Investment Bank. Chonali has a wide experience in the field of investment banking. I am very excited to introduce to you our next panel member who has joined us from Singapore, Shamishri Das Sharma. Shamishri is the Chief Venture Partner at Sustainability and Impact Fund. Shamishri is a senior banking professional with extensive experience in leading multinational banks across structured transactions, product management, credit risk management, and regulatory oversight. He is based out of Singapore and has had regional roles working in all key Asian banks. She has a keen interest in the digital banking space, and during her tenure at Deutsche Bank had been a major global co-creation project with IBM to develop a blockchain-based KYC platform. She has a passion for the impact space and harnessing the power of technology to improve the delivery of financial services, primarily to the unbanked and underbanked sections of the society. I extend a warm welcome to all our panel members. Before we... Yes, ma'am. Before we get started, we want all our wonderful audience to get involved. We will have the podium open for Q&A round at the end of the session. So please pour your questions throughout the live event. Hi Jaya, you have a very impressive career and journey in Fintech is in modern banking solutions. Thousands of young professionals are looking forward to make a career in Fintech. How has Fintech changed banking careers and jobs?
Thank you, Sumaya, for this wonderful introduction and this opportunity. And thank you to VTU for bringing such brilliant minds on the table to kind of make sure that we share our experiences, our interest to the students of VTU. I would like to actually speak about a consumer in this sphere. See, as a consumer, there's always a demand, okay? So when you go to shop to buy something, you actually, want to look at a high quality product, but you also have the other thing in the back of your mind. This is going to be expensive. How do I make it, how do I get something which is a high value, but with a low cost? Banking is actually reaching that stage, okay? Gone are the days when you had these 4 or 5 large banks of the public sector banks, which would offer their products and services, and you had to take it as a consumer. But today the world is changing. It's actually the consumer that is driving the financial services. It's consumers who are saying what they want. It's consumers who are saying why would they want to stay with one financial service company or leave and go or join some, and go to and take a product of some other financial services company. So if you look at the underlying mindset of a consumer, he wants the best, okay, but he wants to do it at a low cost. Now the market is actually, let's say the market is a space of 100 square feet. There are many players who are trying to game for that 100 square feet, but the best can survive, and those who are not able to kind of manage the consumer demands and the needs of the consumer will not survive. So how do you survive in a so much of a consumer-driven market, right? You have an account with a particular bank. You will leave that bank if you don't like the services. You will want to continue in the bank if you like the services. You will tell 10 people that, go to this bank and open an account because the services are good. Now, if I as a financial service offer, someone who has to offer you financial services, I have to make sure that my cost of producing those services are very, very low. It has to be at a very, very reduced cost. Now, cost reduction has to be a combination of a lot of factors, right? It also depends upon where you're located, what are you producing, what are your raw material costs. This is all production. Similarly, in a financial industry also, you have a lot of stuff, a lot of things that go into producing a service or a product for a consumer. For example, if you want to go and take a loan, right? When you go to 2 organizations or 2 financial services companies and say, I want a loan, home loan, what will you look at? You look at the interest rate of what is being offered to you. So when you say that one financial services NBFC, the interest rate is 10%, and the other interest rate is 8%, you will go to somebody who's giving you 8% interest rate, right? Because that's where you will put your mindset to. Now, as someone who's actually working on this at the background, we have a lot of factors to see how do you reduce cost of producing something. Now, when we look at the cost, one of the stuff that has come in a lot of handy in the current scenario is technology. So technology has become a big boon to bringing down cost of production of a financial services, okay? So typically when you talk about fintech, it's actually financial services offering for the technology piece that's being used for delivering financial services. That's why it's called fintech, okay? That's where the combination of fintech has come in. Now, the reason why, when we hear about jobs changing, it's basically the old story of making things manually available to a consumer is now getting more and more digital. if you use technology, technology reduces the cost of production of the services. Now, if I have to give you a very, a clear example of how, how we look at fintech in banking, just to give you a very example where you can relate to it. How have you seen a call center? A call center means there are a lot of people in the call center who call up and talk to customers, talk to, if you have an issue, you call up the call center, you have people who are answering our questions. That's a traditional model. Now, the way, when the volume of services increase, there needs to be you can't keep on increasing people in the system, right? It increases your cost of service. So how do you bring down the cost? If all of you have heard of the concept of bot, right? It's a robotic piece that has come into vogue right now. So if you today, most of the calls that come from the call center are not really driven by people. They're driven by robotic calls. There are auto calls that are driven, which talks about a lot of, they talk to the user like a consumer, like the call center lady. They talk to you about what do you want, how do they serve you, and you will never find the difference. And that's where technology has come in to make sure that you give the experience to the user like a personalized service, but the piece behind that is technology. So that's how the way the roles and the jobs in banks are changing in a large way. So we use a lot of data. There's a lot of information of the user that is there. We analyze the user behavior. We understand what the consumer wants. And this churning of information is all done through technology. And then the organizations, the financial services go forward and say, okay, I've seen that you have used all these services. Are you interested in something else? And that's how the technology is helping to take a step more and further towards enhancing a customer experience. Now, when you come to a job, okay, so see, we have seen how world has been changing for the last so many years, and this pandemic has taught us a lot of stuff when it came to on the job front. We have learned, when it was not a consumer, it was not a computer age, and when computer got introduced, people thought that they would lose their jobs. But nobody lost their job because there was something else created for people to start working on. So fintech is not here, or fintech does not actually, fintech actually enhances one's skills to learn go to the next level to understand and enhance one's understanding and increase one's capabilities to do the next level of job. So if you look at a banking scenario, when you talk about job, there are two parts of the job. One is people who develop and people who actually consume the services. Now, the people who consume the services of the technology actually uses it to make sure that they deliver the services to the consumer. And the technology people, the people who develop it, actually takes the inputs from the users and say, okay, this is what the consumer wants. Okay, let's start working on it and delivering it to the consumer in the way he wants it. So typically, the transition from the manual mode to a computer mode to a digital mode is actually taking the same path in terms of a change. And I think we as users of technology, we as people who drive technology, has realized that everything and anything that happens is only as a boon and not something that is taking us away from reality. Life is only going to get better, and in the years going by, you don't know what more can come in. But I think the way we are in and the way the generation which we are in, I think this is the best thing that could happen to us in terms of the way digital has shaped our lives. So that's something that I thought I could share over here.
What an inspiring journey that was there. I'm sure all the students are inspired already. Shunali, now coming to you, for the young aspirants seeking a career in investment banking, what is the career progression is like? I'm sorry, the moderator of ours had some internet connection problems. I'll take it over.
Sure.
Shunali, over to you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Doctor. Essentially, there's this myth that we deal with, and that the perception is that typically, MBA graduates and people from only finance backgrounds came into investment banking. But I would kind of dispute that, because of course, I have been a chartered accountant, not an MBA. I have had colleagues from other backgrounds like science and law, etc., taking on fully well the investment banking career. Now, in terms of what you really need is, yes, a bit of accounting knowledge does help, and one could do financial acumen and some business acumen and a fair amount of analytical mind. But and you end up learning a lot on the job. In terms of skill sets and the progression, what typically happens is that when you as in any other career, you start when you start at the junior level, you end up doing a lot of execution work, which entails a lot of things around research, because you're researching companies, you're researching businesses, you're researching the industry that the companies are part of. You do a lot of benchmarking analysis. When you try and understand the financial health of the company, you try and understand the future, what the company holds in terms of the performance. One ends up doing a lot of analysis of the financial accounts, projections in terms of where the company is headed, where the business is headed. So a lot of that work goes into investment banking, which essentially is mergers and acquisitions and capital raising. And also a lot of when you're meeting clients, you do a lot of pitching work. So computer skills in terms of Excel skills, in terms of PowerPoint presentations, making all of that obviously comes in handy. But in terms of progression, what happens is that yes, you do a lot of execution work and a lot of support that you support your team in deal making and assisting clients. And depending if you're on the corporate side, then of course your senior, your finance team. And as you sort of start moving up the ladder and gradually move up, then your skill sets, you start evolving as a professional and as a banker. And what really then starts, what you then start honing on is your the relationship skills, because it's a lot to do with relationship building with your clients. And when I say clients, you're essentially dealing with the senior management. So it's very important to be able to connect with the senior management, because you're part of their strategic making, decision making. One also needs to connect with the investor community. So one needs to understand how private equity funds, debt funds, the capital markets work. So and eventually you start looking at yourself as originating deals and ideas rather than execution, because you've done all of that at the grassroots level, and then you manage a team to actually be able to entirely handle the deal from inception stage to the closing stage. So that's really what happens typically in investment banking. And of course, I mean, there are lots of lateral moves that happens. I mean, there are professionals who work from the advisory side to the corporate side. So they kind of leverage on their skills and assist corporates in their internal corporate finance functions. It could happen the other way around as well. Investment professionals from the corporates could move to consulting, to a consulting sort of environment. So lateral moves keep happening, but I think it's all about getting yourself around the businesses, the numbers, getting a grip around where the business is headed, trying to assist the management in whether it's a strategic decision regarding raising capital, hiving off any businesses, acquiring any businesses. So typically that's really what it is. I hope I've kind of answered the question to the extent possible.
Thank you so much, Sonali. For great insight that you have given. And now probably Samashri could add a few more insights into it. How do you think the global pandemic COVID-19 has impacted the careers? And what do you think that it can be turned into an opportunity for our students?
Thank you, Dr. Deepti. First of all, I would like to congratulate VTU for having started this wonderful Women's Study Center. I think it's a wonderful initiative, and I think you're doing a fantastic job of having organized this webinar and this symposium, and thank you for inviting me. Now, as it comes to COVID, I think we are all aware of some of the very serious impact it's had on careers all across the globe, not just in India. And I mean, the obvious impact has been highest in retail, hospitality, entertainment, sports, industries, etc., airlines, where obviously the large-scale retrenchments have happened. In India, we also saw factories and construction sites being badly affected during the very strict lockdown, and we have all been assailed by the basic visuals of hundreds of thousands of migrant laborers going back to their villages. Now, there was a study by McKinsey in July, US and India specifically, on the impact on careers. And for India, they said, especially for women, there was some, this was more about the women-centered study. What they said was women comprised about 20% of the formal workforce in India, while the retrenchments were actually 23%. So obviously women have been impacted higher, and that's probably one of the reasons, obviously, is because women are disproportionately employed in industries which have been impacted the most by the pandemic. So while it's been difficult for everyone across both men and women, but I think women have been impacted a little more than men. The other thing that we saw as a result of the pandemic affecting careers obviously has been that the delicate work-life balance that most professionals have has been disrupted very badly. Kids have started having online classes from home. Everybody's fighting for the same computer. And then, especially I've had friends who had 3 kids and 2 computers, desktops, and this perpetual jostling for internet space. Then household helps were not coming, so people ended up doing all the housework. So it was a double burden. And this impacted everyone physically, mentally, psychologically. Now, hopefully, with things turning around, now the vaccine is out, and obviously the infection levels have fallen across in India, especially. There's been some significant fall off. So life is coming back to normal. Hopefully, that will bring things back essentially to a little more what it was in pre-COVID era. But I do believe that some things will change significantly going forward and permanently. One of the things being, obviously, COVID, I think, showed us that working from home is not only possible, it's also equally productive in many cases. And therefore, I think working from home, for example, is likely to stay as a permanent feature for a lot of people, if not every day, at least a few days a week, or probably some hours, etc. Some jobs probably will actually have a larger proportion of working from home. So that actually is an advantage in some ways, especially for women, because I think women will have a better edge in getting jobs where basically working from home is allowed, etc. The other thing I think in terms of impact on careers, I think there would be a whole lot of new jobs coming up, because if pandemic has done anything, it has actually accelerated the digital push, which was already happening across the economy, in most sectors of the economy, but I think it has got accelerated a lot more in the last few months. And there will be a whole lot of new job opportunities coming up in various sectors: online education, health tech, e-commerce. So even travel industry to a certain extent, though travel is probably going to be the last industry to come into effect after the pandemic reduces. But so essentially there will be a whole lot of new jobs coming up, new opportunities coming up, new roles, and I think that's something that young people entering the job force today should take the most advantage of. Especially because I think there was one study I read that the young people in their 20s and people in their 50s have been retrenched the most, globally as well as in India. So a lot of young people who have probably been retrenched and haven't gone back to their jobs, etc., can seriously look at job changes or career changes of moving into different industries, etc. Example I can give is in Singapore, for example. The Singapore government is actively supporting a lot of people to basically rebuild new skills in new industries. essentially, and they're giving subsidies for reskilling and basically undertaking various courses. So there are various case studies I see in Singapore where people have pilots who have turned into basically online education or something, or even air hostesses, or some other, like even hospitality industry, restaurants, etc. Bars are still closed, so a lot of bartenders, etc. have actually moved into the industry. So that will probably happen essentially, and that's now whether it's good, bad, better, we'll have to see. But it's not as if opportunities will go. As Jaya mentioned, in fintech industry also, I think the technology doesn't necessarily reduce jobs, it probably brings about more opportunities. Let's look at this pandemic as an opportunity to change things for the better, and hopefully that's the way things will turn out.
Thank you, Shamus, for sharing your vital thoughts on this topic. And probably there's a lot to take home for the youngsters from the minds like you. Jaya, the question to you, what in your opinion is fintech? Whether it's a job creator or a destroyer? Jaya, you're on mute.
This is a very interesting question, Dr. Dipti, because every time a change has happened in the world, we always talk about, is this going to help us or is it going to be it's going to work in the reverse side for us? And I hear this coming time and again with respect to the fintech piece also. So I just go back to a few years back when, when people did not know computer, people did not have computer. People said, oh, here comes computer and we lose jobs. But I don't think anybody lost jobs. Then came the era of mobile, right? So people said, oh God, this mobile will take away all the landline. Landline still continues to be a critical part of everybody's life. So every time there is a change, there is this mindset which keeps, wobbling, saying that, oh, is somebody going to lose something? According to me, the fintech has been one of the greatest boon that we at this, era of ours has witnessed. And what we see today, sitting at home, doing internet shopping, doing your online shopping, doing e-commerce, and how during pandemic, how did we actually manage to work out of home? It's all because of fintech. So I don't see as a fintech being a job destroyer. Okay, now coming to a creator versus a destroyer, it has a very significant. See, every time we know that if you don't enhance yourself when there is a change, you are bound to be left behind. So if you, and the one thing that actually, it's not because we are speaking, from AFH, I'm kind of making this statement, but I think, when March 8th, when Madhura set up this AFH, I think there was some way we were realizing that, building skills for an individual is very critical. And just with a mere graduation, it's not okay. When they step out into the world, there's a lot of other stuff that they need to know. And that's when we said that, yes, we have to do something on the skilling piece. The job, when you talk about fintech development and, those weird things keep coming into everybody's mind saying that, will people lose jobs? I think one thing that we need to understand is we need to actually, and it happens in every case, if you don't move with the change, you are lost. You actually are away, you will actually lose. So you need to move with change. And therefore, one needs to get ourselves highly skilled when there is a change happening and be aligned to it. And I think in fintech, it's more so because if you are not there and if you don't align your skills to what is happening, you actually are bound to call it as a job loss, okay? Because you are not God yourself. So fintech does not do a job, is not something that is a destroyer of a job. We ourselves are a destroyer of our job if we don't find ourselves skilled. So that is why when we talk about, when we speak also, when we speak to colleges, we speak to, the principals, we speak to students, we say that, you have a graduation degree, you do it. But what is required for the organization is skill required to do that particular job. And that's the way I see even in fintech, okay? if you go to an organization which is completely tech driven, okay, and if you don't understand and know and get yourself equipped for that basic stuff to do in that organization, you're ultimately out in the race. So that's where I see is basically you have to be self-driven, you have to align yourself, you have to make sure that in this organization, this is what is required, this is what they have it, this is what I should skill myself, and then get yourself prepared to get into that fold. Otherwise, you're lost. I mean, that happens anywhere. It's not just fintech, it's anywhere. If you're not skilled to actually do a job that you are planning to go to, you are not there. So, according to me, fintech, the question itself saying that is it a destroyer or a job creator itself does not exist. Because you have to live in this world where fintech is driving everything, and therefore you need to be, you need to yourself skill. So it's a change, and if you don't move with the change, you're not there. So all students should understand that you can't take a step back. You have to take a step ahead and be aligned to what is happening in the industry and be part of the change. So, that's from me, Dr. Dipti, on this question.
Yes, so the students have to be abreast with the technology, and they have to move with, in line with what the industry needs. That's wonderful, Jaya. That's really nice. Shunali, you have already expressed your view as to how the career progression is for the students. Now, every finance student's dream could be an investment banker. So could you also share your journey as an investment banker, and what tips would you give to the youngsters and youth of today?
Right. So, Dr. I'll just step back a little bit and just quickly explain what investment banking typically is, and it's because that will throw up in terms of what kind of opportunities it really throws up. What is investment banking? It's essentially creation of new capital, or it is transfer of existing capital. So when I say creation of new capital, you could have someone on one side raising capital and on the other side deploying capital. Now, the entity that is raising capital is typically a corporate, and it could be raising capital by way of something called equity or debt, or the various other instruments. I don't need to get into that at this point. And the entity that is deploying capital are essentially, funds which are, which could be equity funds, they could be debt funds, also banks in terms of debt capital. And then when I say capital, it could also be, a corporate buying into another corporate. So it's existing capital, existing equity being bought or sold by one corporate to the other. And actually, to stitch this up together, you also have the consulting and the advisory piece, where one could be a part of the consulting environment or advisory environment, where you're stitching the deals, or you're getting the buyer and the seller together, or you're getting the entity raising capital or the entity deploying capital together. So this essentially, broadly makes up the, and of course, one thing is raising equity could also mean capital markets, where it's public equity and the corporates are tapping the public markets to raise equity. Now, it's in terms of my journey, it's been absolutely exciting. There are phases where there's an adrenaline rush because there's a lot happening. Like I mentioned earlier, you are a part of strategic decision making by the company, by the senior management. What kind of capital to raise, at what dilution levels, at what valuation levels. So all of that is, the very pertinent aspect to take into consideration when you're looking to raise capital. Also, it can be very stressful because one is that client management becomes a huge priority. They want things to be done as of yesterday. So timelines, deadlines, you're always racing against time. So there's pressure, no doubt about it. But a lot of learning happens along the way. You develop networking skills, you develop communication skills. It could get frustrating because you would have done all the hard work in terms of trying to stitch the deals together, getting the investor ready to put in the money, but there is an issue in the external environment. For instance, the the equity markets crash, the capital markets crash, the promoter suddenly does not want to raise capital at a lower valuation than what was expected. So a lot of the factors that also in the external environment can cause a lot of frustration. But having said that, one has to just go on relentlessly, as in any other career or any other profession. I think so. Yeah. So it's been a very exciting journey. You do learn a lot, but you have to always try and perform at the next level, and trying to also trying to. Your financial skills and analytical skills have to be strong. Also putting all that together and being able to connect with the client or with your team, as you go up, sort of move up the value chain, carrying your team together, being, exhibiting leadership skills. So all of that really helps, and all of that kind of has been an exciting part of my journey. Yeah. So like I said, it could be stressful, it could be frustrating, but very exciting. Because when you actually see, having a sister company, and when you suddenly see your company listed on the stock exchange because you've been a part of it, it's a very, very gratifying feeling. So I think that in a nutshell has been my journey, and you have to keep sometimes you come to a stage where you have to keep reskilling yourself. There won't be somebody telling you that you got to do this, you got to do that, but you got to keep abreast of the market in terms of what's happening in the industry, what's happening in the global markets, what's happening in the domestic market in that industry. And I think you have to keep putting that knowledge into into practice. So that's really been sort of my experience in a nutshell, and what really investment banking is.
Wonderful. Sonali, your journey as an investment banker is very inspiring, and I'm sure you will be a role model for many of the youngsters today who would take up this as their career. We've been hearing the whole world talk about blockchain. Every nook and corner talks about blockchain today. What is blockchain, and what scope do you think it has created in modern day banking?
Thanks, Dr. Deepthi. Yeah, there is a lot of hype about blockchain. I think it's reduced a little bit. It was more, I think, 3-4 years back. So what exactly is a blockchain? A blockchain is essentially a decentralized ledger of all transactions across a peer-to-peer network. So blockchain is basically a part of what is called the distributed ledger technology, which essentially allows data or information to be stored across thousands of servers globally, and it lets anyone who's a peer on the network to see everyone else's transactions and entries in almost real time. Now, so that's the basic feature of blockchain. So now that gives it certain characteristics which you would not find in some other technologies which are currently in use. So the fact that the data is stored in thousands of servers across the globe means that you cannot tamper it. It's very difficult to tamper it. It can be changed in very exceptional circumstances, but it needs some significant level of basically mutual consent, which is called the consensus. So essentially, and that obviously means that the data is immutable. Now, the immutability gives it its auditable characteristics, so it's highly auditable, therefore it gives an audit trail of the information that's there and you can't change it. The other thing is that anybody on the network, as I said, can see everybody else's entries. So that makes it extremely transparent. At the same time, what happens is that while you can see other people's entries, you cannot see the person, the identity behind the peer number. It's basically just a number. It's not a person, not a name. So that gives it a level of transparency. At the same time, it ensures privacy and security. So the transparency combined with the security actually builds in a level of trust. So essentially what happens is that blockchain therefore brings in a level of immutability, transparency, trust and security to a system. Ensures that it's basically something, whenever you need data to be essentially maintained in a very transparent manner for posterity, it's something where blockchain can be used as a technology. And blockchain obviously has a whole lot of use cases, essentially, because it has immense potential for record keeping, obviously, as I mentioned just now, but streamlining a whole lot of systems, processes, etc. Now, coming to finance and what are the use cases, it has a lot of use cases. Most obviously, the one that everybody knows about, whenever they hear of blockchain, they associate it with cryptocurrencies, most notably Bitcoin, which is the most famous cryptocurrency, while there are others, of course. But there are other fairly strong use cases for use of blockchain in the finance industry. For example, settlement of market rates for stocks or bonds, etc. Managing identity and KYC, which is know your customer management. It can be used for streamlining supply chain big products in the banking system. It can be used for funds transfers and payments. And it can also be used for digital asset-based financing, etc. So that's the finance sector, but even outside finance sector, there is actually a lot of use cases for blockchain. And I personally think there are outside the financial sector, in this case, the blockchain are better and stronger, because in finance we have a fair amount of other technology which can be a reasonable substitute for blockchain, to be honest. But outside the finance sector, I can give examples of, for example, origin levels, establishing origin labels for foods, for let's say fair trade products. Then industries which need IoT devices, essentially have your IoT device-led registry for inventory systems, for assets. Then yesterday, for example, I was just reading that Tata Steel has actually joined the World Economic Forum's Metals and Mining Blockchain Initiative, and under that initiative, they are going to basically assess and monitor their greenhouse gas emissions for their food products, right from the mining level up to the final product when they actually sell the steel. So essentially, these are just examples of the various use cases that blockchain can have. Even government, actually blockchain is actually a very good technology for government use. It can be used for voting. It can be used by giving subsidies to citizens, etc. So there are a lot of use cases. Having said that, I personally believe that blockchain as a technology which will get widely adopted is a little far away. Because as of now, it is yet a low-cost, efficient way of sharing information and data. It has a lot of potential, but we will probably need to see a few more years before we see fairly wide adoption of the technology, especially in finance industry.
Yes, Shamashri, you have very beautifully simplified the concept around the blockchain for our keen audience out there. Daya, coming on to you. Despite the ever-changing technology, how are you able to think out of the box in innovation? And what is your experience to bag one of the renowned Asian Banker Award 2012?
When you handle, in terms of the role that I used to do, operations and technology and customer service, one of the key deliverables that I used to have was came at a reduced cost. So I had to continuously think of ways of managing costs. That was my critical, one of my KRIs that I had to keep in mind all the time. That's number one. Number two, there is always a desire to do something very different, and that's an individual. And I'm sure Neerja also spoke about it in her, the prioritization, the need to think differently. Someone as a woman, we have to have some kind of. So I have that kind of a desire. I have to do something very differently, and so these two things kept. It actually puts you into pressure to do something very differently. So while technology has been always a core responsibility, and along with operations, I have to be honestly say that I've used it to the best of my knowledge. I've used it to the best in my working sphere. So whenever you have to work on a reduced cost and at the same time give the best and make a product very efficient, you have to keep thinking out of the box. So the Asian Banker Award was actually for the best bank project, where if I have to actually take you through a process of a bank, when you come to open an account with a bank, what you see in the front is just giving a form. You give a form and you're done with it. You get your account opened, you get your checkbook, you get your debit card, you get your net banking, everything in your hand. But the effort that goes behind it is a huge activity. The physical form has to actually be scrutinized. All the KYC documents has to be scrutinized physically. It has to be entered into your core banking system of the bank. Afterwards, the data has to be sent to the vendor. Your debit card gets processed, your checkbook gets processed. It has to be sent to another vendor who then will dispatch it to your residence. So this is a whole activity that happens there. And there is a multiple legs which happen to the entire process. So what happens is, in a market where you're, as I told in the beginning, in a market where you're trying to give the best of the services, one of the things that every bank tries to do is, can I give the customer an account in a few hours time, and not the typical 4 or 5 working days it takes to open an account. In the effort to make sure that how can I give an account to a customer in a matter of few hours is what drove me to this particular project, in terms of if a customer walks in and he gives you a document, can I open the account in the next 1 hour? And that I worked backward. And then that's what led to building this entire technology piece end to end, where the customer can just walk in. Once I get the document, it gets scanned in the system, it reaches the back office through the scanned image, opens the account, and the customer is given a welcome kit across the counter, and there goes the customer being the customer of the bank. So that is where, that project apparently was not done for the sake of getting an award, but that project was done with the sake of using technology to give the best to the customer. But apparently it also happened to be an out of box. It happened to be one of those things that nobody had done in the industry before, and it backed the award. So typically it was not worked with an intention of getting an award, but it was worked with an intention of giving the best to the customer, but ultimately led to this particular award. So that's, so of course, but as a job that you do, and for all these students who are on this particular call, who's hearing this, you have to keep on innovating, not just for the organization, but for yourself also. You have to keep thinking how to do things differently and not traditional. Just to, and this is a very nice piece of story that I would like to share with the audience. And this is what changed my thought process. So when we were taught to think differently, there's a family in Goa who actually used to have a very nice small life. Their son got married, the daughter-in-law came home, and the father-in-law told the daughter-in-law to fry fish. So when she brought the fish fried to the father-in-law, the tail was folded. So she asked the daughter-in-law, why is the tail folded? So she said, my mom used to fry fish like this. So he said, I'm quite interested to know why have you folded the tail side, so please call your mother. So the mother said, I don't know. It's my mom used to do the same way. She used to fold the tail of the fish. So she said, I would like to talk to your mom. So the grandmother was called on the line. So the grandmother very nicely said, oh, that's because my pan was small and the fish was big. So I had to fold it to fit it into the pan. So this is why we say process has to be always thought through and innovated, so that we don't follow something which has been, it has been given to us from generations. You have to think differently. So that's it.
I'm sure, Jaya, that students will pick up the key skills from your journey and inculcate in their life, and this will definitely motivate them to think out of the box. Shunali, over to you now. The job of an investment banker seems very glamorous. All those aspiring to be one. What, in your view, is the most important skill to be an investment banker?
Yeah, so tough one to answer in a very straightjacketed manner, Dr. Diti, but I would try and answer it to my best, to the best possible extent. I would actually classify the skill sets into two buckets: the professional skills and the soft skills. Professional skills, most of us can sort of either, we already have those strengths, or we build on those strengths, we pick up along the line. And those would be, like I already mentioned, would essentially be, financial and business analytical and financial analytical skills, understanding of balance sheets and profit and loss accounts and, projections and sort of PowerPoint skills and Excel skills, and, and the list can go on, your, research skills and all of that. But I think at the end of it also, over and above this, the soft skills that really matter, and I think that would come handy in any, that would be across professional, across careers, would be, having a very positive temperament, being able, having the right attitude at work, because only when you show that, exhibit that attitude of learning and perseverance is when you're, given more responsibilities to perform, and you end up performing and you kind of sort of shine in what you take up. So I think perseverance also, and then communication skills again, which again one can pick up along the line, and a lot of patience, because like I said, this is not a kind of a project sort of a thing where you start it and it ends. It could start, but it could never end. It could, if you're lucky, it starts and ends, and you're able to see the end of the deal or the transaction. But having the resilience and having the patience to be able to deal with your team members, your clients, your seniors, all of that really helps sort of you carry yourself forward and grow in the profession. Because like I said, you end up dealing with a lot of senior people from the other side. And to be able to sort of exhibit your skills, your understanding, and the need to learn and keep yourself updated is also, I would say, a very, very important skill that one should have. So one has to be a keen learner, because you have to keep picking up trends, picking up whether it's global trends, domestic trends. I think a culmination of a lot of this. So like I said, professional skills are important, but some of these softer skills are even more important for you to grow in any profession, I would say. So I wouldn't really single out investment banking in that case. But like I said, the professional skills, of course, are peculiar and unique to investment banking, is where you will need to have some bit of financial acumen and business acumen to be able to understand businesses, understand growth, understand numbers, understand history of how the company has come to a certain level, how they have performed, what goes behind it. So all of this. I think that's really how I'll sort of sum it up.
Yes, Sonali, that was indeed the vital skills that you have highlighted upon: perseverance, communication, patience, and the professional skills. I'm sure all these skills will definitely take the student to the pinnacle of success in their investment banking career. Very nice. I think our moderator, Shumaisa, is back, and there are a lot of questions which are arising from the audience. I think she would be taking up and asking a few questions from the audience as well. Shumaisa, over to you.
We have a very enthusiastic audience with us today, who have been pouring us with a lot of questions for the speakers. We will try and take the best two from the chat box. So audience, we are waiting for your questions. We have quite a lot. So I'll read out one of the top two interesting questions for the day. So we've got one interesting one here. How can a student with a non-technical background pursue a career in Fintech? Also, we want to know about finance jobs in Singapore. So this question is to you, Shamishri ma'am, since you are working in Singapore and you have a wide experience, extensive experience in this field. Please take over, ma'am.
Thank you, Shamisha. Finance industry is, fintech industry is essentially financial services industry. It probably uses a little more technology to deliver services compared to regular banking industry. Let's remember that the existing finance industry is also very heavily technology reliant, especially in areas of trading, for example, forex trading or stock trading, etc. It's completely technology led. So it's not as if the existing banking industry does not have technology. Therefore, the difference is primarily that the fintech has a more front-end user experience, which is technology-led. But fundamentally, it's not very different. End of the day, it's an industry which delivers financial services and not technology services. So it's not so much an issue of non-technical background. That can be an impediment to having a career in fintech, because essentially it's the same skills that you need in banking that you need in fintech industries as well. And which can be, especially for front office and middle office, obviously a certain amount of understanding of technology helps, but it's not as if you need to be a so-called techie to be in the fintech industry. Of course, if you're developing products for the back office, essentially, if you're developing technology modules essentially for fintech industry, then obviously you need a technology background. But that's true even for regular banking. Even in any bank, the IT department is essentially filled with engineers. So it's not very different in that sense. In terms of how can someone who doesn't have, let's say, a technology background pursue a career, I don't think it's very daunting. Again, as I said, I remember in Deutsche Bank, a lot of our traders on the trading floor actually have a PhD in physics and maths, and not really either MBAs or Harvard engineers or anything of that sort, because essentially what they learned in physics or maths was basically building models which were required for trading, for example. Now, some examples that I can who are aspiring to be in this industry, you can actually take on courses which complement your existing education, your primary education. So let's say a law student can probably take a course in RegTech, which is regulatory technology, or cybersecurity. That will help them get a job, let's say, in fintech industry, in compliance, or risk, basically risk management, etc. Or let's say an economics student can take on a course in, let's say, data sciences, for example, which helps them build models and basically do a lot of data analytics. Most fintechs actually give a lot of data analytics, data which comes in regularly, and it's easier to extract than from the traditional core banking systems which most large banks have, actually. So those are the things that people can look at, and as long as you do some, there are no specific, there are some fintech courses which are offered by global universities, etc. Personally, I don't think they really add so much of value. I have seen quite a few courses offered by IITs in India, for example, not necessarily fintech focused, but they do offer courses which are technical, and a lot of them can be used in data analytics, for example. A lot of the large technology companies actually have courses. Microsoft, for example, has a whole slew of courses, and in fact, they actually opened it up for free during the pandemic. And a lot of those courses, again, not specifically focused on fintech industry, but a lot of them would be very useful and very, very applicable for the fintech industry. So people can actually do those courses to gear themselves up if they want a career in fintech. And just make sure that it's an accredited university or it's a large company and your certification is valid and will be recognized by your potential employees. I think that's very important. And not go to any university which offers some course, essentially. That's important. As far as jobs in Singapore is concerned, yeah, Singapore is a finance hub. It is a banking hub. It is also going to be a fintech hub in the last few years. The government over here is very keen to make Singapore a good hub for fintech industry. And now there are jobs. It's not that there are no jobs, but in terms of if an Indian person is looking at moving to Singapore for a job, that's honestly, in the current scenario, is a little difficult. Like most governments, Singapore is also very keen on having their local talent getting jobs. And there's a lot of pressure on most corporates, including multinational banks and multinational corporations, to ensure that a certain percentage, or a pretty large percentage of people employed in the regional offices are actually locals, which actually puts a lot of pressure for freshers, because what happens is that Singapore is a regional headquarters for a lot of companies, most companies actually. So what happens is you go up the ladder beyond a point, you are too senior to be in your own country. So you move from India or let's say Japan or whatever. Japan probably is an example, but you typically move out of Indonesia or Philippines or India and move to the regional office. So the senior management in most corporates across most industries, and especially banking, has a lot of foreigners, because not necessarily because they were in Singapore to begin with, but they typically moved up the ladder, career ladder, and eventually had to have a regional job, and therefore they moved into the regional office, which happens to be Singapore. And therefore, now as a precaution, because it's very top heavy with foreigners, the pressure on corporates to have locals at the junior level is high, because overall they will look at the number of Singaporeans or permanent residents in Singapore as a proportion of the overall number of employees. And therefore, it makes it very, even within the companies, it's become very difficult to move talent. But one thing that people can, if they're interested in looking at a job scenario outside India, what I can suggest is a lot of these banks as well as fintechs have offices, obviously. The Singapore itself is just a regional headquarters and a hub. It doesn't have a very large local market, so the markets are actually in the region, which is Indonesia, Thailand, etc. And there are opportunities there because there is a lack of talent in those countries. So people, if you're looking for a job outside India and you move to the Asia region, it's probably for a fresher or for somebody who's junior, it probably makes sense to look at these countries for a role, and that's probably a good pathway or segue eventually landing up in Singapore if that's the goal, essentially.
My son, where on mute?
You're on mute.
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Shamisri, for such wonderful insights into career opportunities. I'm very sure our audience are totally convinced. Yet another interesting questions we have here by our audience. Our next question is, please share a few recent trends in finance in relation to job markets. So, Shonali ma'am, could you please throw some light on this?
Yeah, sure. There are a couple of increasing trends that we're seeing over the last few years, and I think this pandemic, those have got kind of accelerated. One would be, we all know that India is perceived as a manufacturing hub, but what we're seeing increasingly is that it's also being seen as a hub for services industry. So a lot of companies globally are actually moving their accounting and finance functions back to India. So they're actually, what we say is back officing these functions, which for the simple reason that there's a huge talent pool available here, and it's also relatively at lower cost than what you see in other parts of the world. So that is across not only banks but across financial services companies and across corporates, which is a very interesting trend, because that kind of throws up a whole lot of opportunities for people across levels, for graduates, for mid-level, for senior level. I think it's a great opportunity because there's a huge talent pool sitting here within the country. Second, what is happening is that we are seeing a large number of funds that one is domestic funds and of course arms of the global funds who are present in India in corporates. But what we're seeing is that now they want to increasingly monitor their investments, which means that they want to kind of have people in their professionals on their team who can actually look and monitor at their investment, at their portfolio companies from time to time, which is sort of handhold them, because there could be various They could be companies at various stages. They could be early, sort of startup companies. They could be companies who are in the growth phase. There are companies who are in the sort of late stage of funding, or who are actually in a developed or a mature stage where they could be looking at listing. So funds have realized that that putting a team together which actually assists these portfolio companies and the teams there can add tremendous value to the existing company and their strategies and the way forward. I'm seeing, of course, digibanking has opened up. Digibanking, Fintech has opened up a plethora of opportunities as well. So increasingly, these are the 2-3 key trends that I'm seeing. Also, what's happening is that because of the way the economics is turning out globally, India is as an investment hub also. So there are a lot of global funds, investor community, which is eyeing opportunities in India very closely. As a result of which the capital markets are opening up. And talk to my counterparts in merchant banks. They all say that they're kind of ready. They're working on a number of listing documents, because in the next couple of months we'll see a lot of companies getting listed and tapping the public markets. So I think these few things put together show that yes, there is an opportunity in every adversity. So that so India is a growing economy, it is a developed economy, and there are a whole lot of opportunities being thrown up in this space.
Thanks, Shinali. I'm very sure our audience is very convinced with your answer. So those were the 2 questions, and thank you, panelists and audience. We could have kept this going, but as all good things come to an end, we would like to say a big thank you to our panelists for sharing invaluable industry insights with all the students who will be embarking their careers soon. Also, Aspire for Her has many mentors that students can anytime reach out to and get help. I believe everyone must make the best use out of this forum, where you have the best industry experts with us to help and guide you anytime, anywhere. Thank you once again.
Yeah, I thank everyone on behalf of the family.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you. You had a great panelist. Really nice. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Correct, Aidipati also. Aidipati. Itu